Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at Malaysian Airlines flight MH17, shot down over eastern Ukraine, July 17, 2014.
A truly catastrophic
Oh,
event.
absolutely. And our mission here is to unpack how this happened. How a routine flight path at 33,000 feet, approved and all, ended up in the path of advanced weaponry.
Right.
So the question really for you is, why was it flying there at all? Why was that airspace considered safe?
Well, that's the crux of it, isn't it? Airlines were, constantly balancing safety with cost, with efficiency, and they relied on the official guidance.
Which came from?
The Ukrainian government had put out a NOTAM, a notice to airmen.
Yeah.
But crucially, it only restricted airspace below 32,000 feet.
Okay, so 33,000 feet where MH17 was flying was technically open, considered safe.
Exactly. The international thinking at the time was that the known weapons in that conflict, conventional ones, simply couldn't reach that high. MH17 followed the rules precisely. They even asked to go higher, 34,000 feet, but couldn't because of other traffic.
So they were doing everything right based on what everyone thought they knew, but the reality on the ground was completely different.
Completely. Because the real threat, the one nobody factored into that international consensus, was the Buck M1 missile system.
An advanced radar-guided weapon?
Very advanced. Supplied by Russia to the separatists, this thing could hit targets way, way higher, up to 70,000 feet. It just made that 32,000-foot restriction totally, irrelevant.
So the weapon capability was there, but the actual firing, that seems like a massive operational failure.
Oh, it was a staggering breakdown. The crew operating the Bucket Bowl, it seems it was a mixed group, some poorly trained separatists, maybe some Russian personnel. They basically skipped all the critical checks.
Like what? What did they miss?
Three fundamental things. First, the IFF signal identification friend or foe. MH17 was broadcasting it loud and clear. They ignored it or didn't see it.
Okay, what else?
Second, they didn't confirm the target with their own higher command structure, just didn't check up the chain. And third, maybe the simplest check, public flight schedules.
I know.
Easily available. They didn't look. They saw a blip on their radar, thought it was perhaps a Ukrainian military transport, and they fired.
Just fired.
Yeah.
Wow. And then the investigation, the forensics must have been incredibly detailed.
Unbelievably so. The Dutch Safety Board, the Joint Investigation Team,
Right.
they painstakingly pieced the wreckage back together, and the damage pattern on the cockpit, the front left side.
Yeah.
It wasn't just blast damage. It was hundreds of tiny, distinct puncture marks, all pointing toward an explosion point just outside, ahead and to the left of the cockpit window.
That sounds very specific.
It was the weapon's signature. The investigators found shrapnel, distinctive bow tie shapes, little cubes embedded in the cockpit structure, and tragically in the bodies of the pilots.
And that shrapnel was traceable.
Conclusively, matched directly to the 9M314M warhead, which is part of the 9M38M1 Buck missile. They even found parts of the missile itself, the tail section, at the site, and they traced the specific launcher back to Russia's 53rd Anti-Aircraft Missile Brigade. The evidence trail was undeniable.
Knowing that detonation point just outside the cockpit, it tells us something about the final moments, doesn't it?
It does. The pilots and the purser, who was also in the cockpit at that moment, they would have been killed instantly by that shrapnel wave.
And the passengers?
The investigators concluded the decompression at 33,000 feet was instantaneous. Loss of consciousness would have followed within seconds.
Right.
So thankfully, no prolonged suffering or awareness.
That's some small measure of relief in all this horror. And this huge body of evidence, it became critical, right? Especially with all the misinformation swirling around.
Absolutely crucial. There were extensive efforts, mainly state-backed, to muddy the waters' contradictory stories, digitally altered photos pointing blame elsewhere, usually Ukraine, but the forensic evidence cut right through all that noise.
So much so that even international bodies took a stance.
Yes, eventually. In May 2025, the UN's aviation body, ICAO, publicly stated Russia was responsible for providing the missile system used, a major finding.
And the legacy, it changed how airlines approach conflict zones.
Fundamentally, the whole calculation of risk shifted. Much wider avoidance zones, much more caution. Safety now trumps assumptions about what weapons might be present. Efficiency took a backseat.
So wrapping this up, MH17 followed the rules. The vulnerability wasn't rule-breaking, it was that the rules themselves were based on an underestimation of the actual threat.
Precisely. The international safety framework assumed a level of transparency, or at least predictability, about the weapons being used. It didn't account for advanced, undisclosed military hardware being deployed in a conflict zone.
Which leaves us and you with a really difficult question.
It does. If global aviation safety depends on knowing the capabilities present in a conflict, how can passenger security really be guaranteed when advanced weapons are secretly introduced into modern warfare? Something to think about.
Indeed. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.